Vice President Biden, your reaction, and just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved by the government. What steps would you take to give Americans confidence in a vaccine if it were approved?
Make sure it's totally transparent. Have the scientists of the world see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter. A dark winter. A dark
Britain
winter.
is braced for a dark winter as new measures are deployed to stem a surge of coronavirus. It's feared new cases will near 50,000 a day next month, with many deaths to follow. But fearing economic meltdown too, it's lockdown light for now. The onus put on people to follow the rules.
Sweet child in time.
Dramatic testimony is expected Thursday from an ousted health official who has accused the Trump administration of downplaying the coronavirus threat and says he was pushed out when he voiced concerns. In prepared remarks released publicly prior to his congressional hearing, Dr. Rick Bright, a vaccine and therapeutics expert, writes, quote, "Without clear planning and implementation of the steps that I and other experts have outlined, 2020 will be the darkest winter in modern history."
Today, the world is confronting a public health emergency unlike any we've seen in over a century. We are facing a highly transmissible and deadly virus which not only claims lives but also disrupts the very foundations of our society. Our window of opportunity is closing. If we fail to improve our response now, based on science, I fear the pandemic will get worse and be prolonged. There will be likely a resurgence of COVID-19 this fall. It will be greatly compounded by the challenges of seasonal influenza. Without better planning, 2020 could be the darkest winter in modern history.
On June 22, 2001, the United States government began Operation Dark Winter. Operation Dark Winter was not a war game. Instead, something more unusual. Dark Winter was a germ game. In 2001, the US military, government, and media launched a mock battle against pathology. The premise was simple. A bioterror organization released a deadly virus into the country, and smallpox is spreading quickly. The US government must now react to contain the outbreak and stop further harm. How did we do? The results were disastrous. Within 48 hours, the government failed its objectives. The loss of human life was high, and when Operation Dark Winter ended 3 days later, a summary of recommendations were given to implement across different levels of government to better prepare in case of a future dark winter. But the dark winter never came. Instead, 4 months later, 9/11 struck the United States with a different type of fear, and the government and our focus shifted away from home to land conflicts in Iraq and Islamic terrorism abroad.
With a growing concern over the notion that chemical and biological weapons were unaccounted for and could potentially fall into the hands of terrorists, the Department of Defense wanted to test the nation's readiness for such an emergency. In June 2001, the DoD conducted a war game called Operation Dark Winter.
Dark Winter was a major exercise that was done prior to 9/11, earlier in 2001, to look at the effects of a biological terror event. And it was kind of a scary scenario. We would lose a lot of people if a really effective bioterror event occurred.
The simulation evaluated the government's ability to respond and communicate with the public, and the exercise even included mock news reports.
Since the diagnosis of 20 smallpox cases in Oklahoma City 12 days ago, hundreds have now died, thousands have become infected.
We had to, think about things like, quarantines and martial law, and things like that. All of a sudden, our system wasn't our system anymore because we had this terrible thing going on, and we had to change. We had to, change the way we thought about things. We had to change the way the military interrelated with the civilian world, and it was really an eye-opener.
And the conclusion were tens of millions of deaths, no commerce between states, no airplane flying for 6 months, and war between Oklahoma and Texas.
Sweet child in time, you'll see the line that's drawn between the good and the bad. See the blind man, yeah, he's shooting at the world, bullets flying, taking toll.
In 2001, a real-world exercise tested the emergency response to a bioterror attack on the continental United States. The operation was called Dark Winter. Within just a few days, the simulation spiraled out of control. The operation predicted a rapid breakdown in essential institutions, civil disorder, and massive civilian casualties. Dark Winter has revealed how vulnerable we've become. Our lifestyle, our security, our safety depends on a delicate and unstable economy. We've created a system so complicated that we no longer understand how to control it. Oil, power, shipping, transport. We live in a complex world. And the more complex it gets, the more fragile it becomes. The system is built on a global supply chain that gets things where they're needed, just in time. We've created a house of cards. Remove just one, and everything falls apart. And what's fueling this system?
Money. Americans can spend $90 billion in a single day of shopping. Last year, 200 million people swarmed their local stores on November 23rd. We call that day Black Friday. Did you know that a flu virus can survive on the surface of a banknote for up to 17 days? One day there will be a pandemic. It could begin during the crush of Black Friday sales. A pathogen will jump from tainted banknotes to human skin, onto food, toys, children, and loved ones. By the time patient zero feels the first sore throat, millions of people will already be infected. From this point, the breakdown will happen fast.
Day 1, hospitals will reach capacity. Panic will strike. Day 2, quarantine zones will be established. Resources will be rationed. Transport will go into lockdown. Day 3, international trade will stop. The oil will dry up. The stock market will collapse. Day 4, the power will fail. The shelves will be empty. The taps will run dry. And once hunger and despair take hold, people will do anything for survival. By day 5, everyone will be a potential threat.
In 2007, a new presidential directive was signed quietly into law. This maps out the government's response to a crisis, a plan to cope with a real dark winter. It is known as Directive 51. There are rumors of shadow agencies, sleeper cells, covert agents, but nothing can be confirmed.
Our complex world is primed for breakdown.
And once the chaos strikes,
there won't be resources to save us all.
The only question left is, what will it take to save what remains?
They said it was just the flu. But it turned out to be something else entirely. We followed our orders. Isolate the sick in a quarantine zone in the middle of Manhattan and stop the contagion from spreading. We started to lose count of casualties. We built a wall to contain the sick. But we lost control of the situation. And that's when the power went out. Rioting, looting, chaos. They ordered us to pull out all troops within a few hours. We left everything behind, in a zone saturated with contamination. We left our best equipment, our most powerful weapons, and the only hope for a cure. Few dare go over the wall. Fewer still come out. We call this place the Dark Zone.
It's hard to watch something you love destroy itself, to see it fall apart. Disaster always feels so distant, detached. Someone else's struggle in some faraway place. It's not until it's in our city, at our doors, that we realize how fragile we are. All of us. All of this.
No, baby, Steven. I'm here. Mommy's right here. No. Please. Sarah.
And when it hit, when it came down hard. And we fell. We buried ourselves in anger, fear.
In a secret government lab, a deadly virus has been born.
What the hell's going on out there, Eric?
We must protect the presidency.
You set me up. You set this whole country up. It's not over, sir. Not by a long shot.
Brian Bosworth. Virus.
One world. One world. Thank you, Mr. President. One world. One world. One world. One world. One
He made it up on the podium. No.
One world. Graduating into. This is what I want to talk about today with you for a few minutes. I believe we, and particularly you, your class, has an incredible window of opportunity to lead in shaping a new world order for the 21st century.
gotta find it, so I better keep looking.
Hey, Judith. When you and Doug were hanging out, did you ever just, for the fun of it, you guys ever do any drugs?
Hey, I don't do drugs, okay? It's him and his coked up idiot friends. It's one of the reasons I'm his ex-girlfriend. Damn it, I know it was here.
Hey, look, anything would help. If you could just name one of his friends, it would not get you implicated or involved in any way.
Look, I am not involved. I hardly even saw Doug the last few months.
Hey, look, hey, look, hey, look, hey, look. Hey, look.
There's an evil virus threatening mankind. Not state of the art, a serious state of the mind. The muggers, the backstabbers, the two-faced elite, a menace to society, a social disease. Rape of the mind is a social disorder. The cynics, the apathy, one of the chip order.
It is possible that you may have been exposed to the riptide virus and need immediate medical attention.
I need the mayor to see this. Where is he?
You can't just summon him like one of your interns. What you have to say to him, you can say to me.
We have to quarantine Los Angeles and surrounding areas. They'll be able to move about, go to work, or stay at home.
You want to close Los Angeles?
As of noon today, we have confirmed 286 deaths attributed to this virus, and 3,492 individuals who were showing symptoms.
Is there a vaccine?
We're working on it.
This is Melissa Lowe for Channel 8 News. It is another grim day in Los Angeles as the dead continue to grow in number, filling morgues beyond capacity, and still there is no end in sight. The once warm and friendly city of Los Angeles is now full of people wearing masks and fearful of the slightest human contact. With law enforcement officers working 18-hour shifts and National Guard troops patrolling the streets, LA has truly become a city under siege. The only places doing business are hospital emergency rooms, which are now being taxed to the point of collapse as health workers and first responders are beginning to fall prey to this insidious and deadly enemy.
I want you all to know how proud I am to see you here today. Ready to fight for your freedom? You're trying to tell us this is a flu. There's no way in hell. No, if the government has seen fit to release this deadly disease, I'm trying to thin out the herd a little bit. Make us all fall in line, do their little monkey dance. That is no reason we have to go quiet.
He promised her the world.
I won't take no for an answer.
But he was leading the invasion to conquer ours.
I want you to be a part of this.
God! This Sunday it begins.
You can't stop it.
They're gonna kill us. They're here!
Bring them to me.
NBC presents an out-of-this-world motion picture event.
You and I belong together.
She's found his weakness.
I am the only one who can get to him.
She's our only hope to save the world.
It's now or never.
Robin Cook's Invasion, Sunday on NBC.
für eine neue Menschheit. Institut für eine neue Menschheit.
Steinchen mal ansehen. Wir sind drin. Wir sind im Stein.
Was sind das da drin alles für Dinge?
Ich habe keine Ahnung.
One world. A new world order.